Hey, so thanks again for coming back to Heroes of Humility, and thanks to my fellow hosts.
Are you not putting your headphones on because you don't want to mess up your hair? Why are your headphones still in your hands?
Yeah, let's not get this on video yet. Let's kind of try to be cool to each other, at least for the beginning, you know?
Yeah, it kind of messes
I
up
always
the
think
light-
it's better
the
if we
light shimmering.
start out friends and we evolve slowly into enemy territory.
Combatants.
As the show. I like people to think, oh, these guys are on the same team. They don't hate each other.
They should know better by now, though, right?
Hopefully this brings people some
yeah.
joy. Yeah, sorry, Red. What were you going to say?
No, yeah, I was going to agree with you. Hopefully this isn't their first episode.
Agreement is always good in the host studio, like I said earlier on, and then we can get into the hostility and the vitriolic behavior. But Red,
That's where I excel.
first of all, very good to have you back.
Yes,
We missed you, man.
know what?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I've been missing in action. Summer started and it has been go, go, go.
Right.
And my weekends have been booked. When you asked what's going on, I wasn't even available. So
Yeah.
I hate to do that, but you know how that works. Sometimes the family comes first, and my little kid was wanting to go have adventures. And
Priorities are a little messed up, but
Yeah.
anyway, thanks for being back again.
Happy to be back.
Beige and I had to do one without you, so that stung a little bit, but we missed you. And also,
I think we excelled in that. I think that was one of the best podcasts we've done. Just
Oh,
you
thank
and me.
you.
Yeah.
I apologize
I
for
will
Beige's
be
behavior
there
we go.
early on. But yeah, no, we had a good one. And then you guys missed a fantastic guest we had, Jennifer. She's a cosplay aficionado expert. Yeah, it was really cool to talk with her and get her perspective, especially getting like a female perspective, because sometimes I think while we may really scientifically appreciate the fact that men and women don't think that much different, I think that that's kind of what the literature says, the abstracts I've read. I'm waiting for Beige I'm setting him up to bust my balls here, but the point is I'm really smart.
I don't think I was paying attention. Can you say that again?
He wasn't listening, you jerk. But the thing is that I don't think men and women are that different, but she brought a cool, fresh perspective, and she's psyched to come back whenever we have a topic she'd be interested in, or not. I think she would be up for anything. So it's really good to have you guys back. This recording is going to be about doctor visits. There are weird and kind of goofy setups, context to going to the doctor's office. I recently had this happen to me. Let me grab somebody that was taking some video of us real quick, because I got to get my phone back. Is my phone? Hang on, guys. If you could just go.
Where's the cut music that you were playing earlier? Let's just... Well,
I think that was a
wrong button
one.
there, buddy.
So here we go. So this one is about doctor stuff.
Heroes
Of
Humility, 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 humility. Humility. This is not a charade. This is real. These words you are about to hear are coming from real humans on a mission to save the human race from itself. Buckle up while these delusional heroes of humility, aka hoes, attempt to right the wrongs in everyday human behavior. So you guys are doing good, though? You've been all right? Anything happened to you in your lives since we've parted ways and now we're back together again? No,
it's been pretty mundane.
Real
actually.
noteworthy.
No, I went out of town. I was out of town for about a week. Got out of the heat where we're
Yeah.
at, where it's miserably hot during
Yeah.
this time of year. So
Takes,
that was a nice respite.
a resilient kind of defiance in the face of adversity to live in the area we live in, because it's pretty warm.
It's not
pretty
suitable for human intents.
Oh,
right?
it's difficult when you got to be outside for a long time.
It's like only rattlesnakes and Gila monsters should
Yeah.
live here, I think, right?
Yeah, horny toads. So Red, you've been busy with family stuff.
Yeah, we went to the beach for a week, got out of the heat, like you said.
I'd be kind of concerned with you at the beach, is because I won't,
Whoa,
don't
wait a
mean to hurt
second.
anybody's feelings, but you are very fair, I guess pasty. And
Wow.
the concern would be that the sun, man, did you put lots of sunscreen on? Did you have umbrellas and stuff?
Always a proper lubrication for the skin.
Yeah, an interesting
Are you one of
choice.
those guys that will go into the ocean fully clothed?
No,
Like you've seen those guys, right?
With
Shirt
the
on,
t-shirt
like
on?
with the t-shirt on.
You know
still?
what? I will say there was
Not a
one-
bad idea in some,
Not usually.
for some people.
Not usually, but one time I got burned pretty bad, and I had to wear one of those long sleeve sun shirts in the water just because it's a beach vacation. The first day we put sunscreen on, but I think the sunscreen was expired. Long story short, I got burned the first day, but you're going back. Your plan is to go back, and you don't want to be the only reason or not on the beach. So put one of those shirts on. It did help, but you do kind of feel weird. I don't know. At least for me, I do.
Dude,
well, especially because your yokes and your guns.
Yeah,
you don't want to conceal that. That's
once you bring those out, people might call the authorities and say, "Hey, this guy's brandishing his firearms
out here just walking around with guns."
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. What were you going to say?
Well, I was gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent here. I know we just started the show. I went to the beach one time when I was younger, hanging out with my buddy, and before I went out there, I took. You ever heard of St. John's Wort? It's like a supplement.
San Francisco.
What?
I was thinking of the wharf in San Francisco.
No, St. John's Wort. It's like a
you said,
pill.
buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, will you turn this off real quick? Sorry. Pardon the interruption.
Okay.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
no. Just
okay.
don't
Let
lose
me.
your train of thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
I totally lost my train of thought. But
St. John's Wharf.
St. John's Wort. It's like a herbal.
Off the pier of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like a herbal supplement.
Okay.
And
making
it's
your
supposed to
peen
like
bigger.
improve your mood and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you always assume the worst, but
Sorry, I thought you were saying
like
I don't know if that made it into the
Right.
recording, but some people might have heard what I said. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I took this and I didn't read the bottle about the effects of it, but so I took this, we went to the beach, went kayaking and stuff, and I sucked at kayaking, right? Like I would go out in the ocean and the tide would just beat the crap out of me and like it was embarrassing how bad I was. Yeah. So I gave up on it pretty quickly because I was just so embarrassed that I didn't know how to do this at all. So my buddies out there kayaking in the ocean and stuff, and I'm just on the beach, laid out, chilling, sunbathing. Well, I got like the worst sunburn of my life. Literally blisters on my chest. Like I probably should have went to the hospital. It was so freaking bad.
Wow.
I read the bottle of the St. John's Wort afterwards, and it says, will cause sunlight sensitivity. Do not take and I read it. Oh no, you were just taking it, but like an effect of it is that it causes extra sensitivity to sunlight. So of course I took it, and then I promptly like sunbathed the entire day right after I took it. Dude, it was horrible.
Wow.
I couldn't even wear a shirt, man. And like I got back home and I literally put like a comforter over my window in my bedroom and blacked it out like Dracula's lair for like a week so I could recover that way, because it was I just
got a great idea for something. You know how people make YouTube videos to show you reviews of products, things? It helps me because I was thinking of getting something recently, and I watched a YouTube video. But you could do videos of, you know how on certain medications it says do not do this. You do the opposite of what the instructions say to do, and then you can review what happens if you fail to follow the instructions.
If you survive, it'll make for great content.
These boils on your butthole will happen if you take this. And then you can show people, and then they'll be like, "Oh, crap!"
You'll be a cautionary tale.
Yeah,
right.
And you might avert catastrophe. Now you may take one for the team, literally, because there's going to be lots of stuff happening to you. But what a great YouTube video!
Be like, this person combined Tylenol with rum, and he died. Yeah. Don't do that.
In fact, he mixed them together before he even. Yeah, it'd be kind of like might be a good segue into the fact that we have a YouTube channel. We don't really do much on there. We're going to do some video eventually, but I think this is a great idea, man. And are you willing to?
Am I willing to be a guinea pig and subject myself to anal boils? No, I'm not willing to do that.
That's how a lot of good ideas start, man. They just die before they get started.
Are you willing to do it? And I just document it. How about I document it, but you actually do it?
Well, since it was my idea, I'm kind of more of a commentator.
All right.
I think Red could probably do video. We'll throw him.
And I'll just be the guy that gets the anal boils.
I think the guys that... Yeah, exactly. I think the guys who have the fairest skin, too, should be some of the people that... I think this will sound bad, but the thing is I think a lot of these medications, they're probably... You might be more susceptible because your skin is obviously sensitive to the light because you're more fair skinned. So I think it would just make sense that you would be a victim for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Is that racist? I don't know. I apologize to all of our fair skinned listeners. By the way, Heroes of Humility in no way supports or, advocates for the victimization of fair skinned people named Beige. No. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're okay, Red. I'm glad nothing serious happened to you. This is a good segue segue, because we're going to be talking about doctor stuff, into a dermatologist appointment that I just had, which is something I was going to...
Dude, I have one coming up, and I've never had one. I'm a little concerned because they're going to do like a skin check, and they're going to be like, yeah, it's all cancer.
They didn't talk to you about the anal probes?
Yeah.
That's how it is, right? Whenever you've got to go to the doctor for something and it's not just a checkup, if you go to the internet at all, inevitably you're going to find that you have some terminal illness. And you're going to start doing research about how you can prevent whatever it is, because that's usually my next recourse. I had a small bump on my neck and it was kind of up near my ear. And I was like, what is this imperfection that I've been stricken with? I just saw Beige close his eyes like, here we go again. I don't mean to like.
I mean, you
bragging.
should be used to it. There's a lot of imperfections.
We know that you're being. The only reason that's so funny is because it's ironic, and irony is what makes things funny because we know they're not true. So the truth is, I haven't had these issues. So when I had this, I was concerned, and I thought, well, let's see what kind of magical powers from my home remedies, from my long established history of research. So I put a little bit of coconut oil on there.
So when Pierce gets a pimple, he thinks he has cancer.
Well, it was like the bump had gotten, it just didn't feel right. Like, I don't want to sound like an idiot. I mean, yeah, I've had a pimple before. I don't want to brag.
There was the one time.
But I did have one. But anyway, I didn't think it was a pimple. And I thought, is this a tag? Is it, God forbid, a wart? I hate to even say that word. That was hard for me to say.
A mole?
But yeah, it was something.
Heaven forbid.
So I thought, well, I need to get this checked out. Long time ago, I went to a dermatologist and the guy just looks at it and says, this is what it is. So anyway, I thought, well, I'm going to go in there. Now, I went into this dermatologist office and I hadn't been in the doctor's office in a long time. And one of the things is why the chairs in this lobby have to be, you ever watch The Price is Right, where people have to climb over each other because the seats are so close together, and they get called up and you think they would just be a run dash to the stage, but they can't get past the person sitting right next to them. That's how this doctor's office was. And I was thinking, when I get called up and it's my big moment, it's a kind of an exciting moment, but then you get past the tight seats and then you get called back there and then you're just waiting again in a smaller room. Now in the first room,
I was going to say, because that makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, right?
They're
like
playing with your emotions.
Yeah, they're playing with your emotions. So there's like stages of waiting, as opposed to like you're just there waiting forever. I think mentally, well, I've made it to stage 2. I'm getting closer here.
And you know that they have the wherewithal to do this because they're learned doctors. So you know that they are practiced in the ways of manipulation and physical and mental capacities and limitations. So somebody said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have them go into this other room, and their hostility and aggravation that would be burning up in the lobby sitting directly next to a complete stranger is going to be mitigated because now we're going to bring them back and make them feel like they're getting treatment for this bump, right?
Who's sick, by the way? I mean, most doctors' offices, the people in the waiting room are generally ill.
Yeah.
Why are we right next to each other?
Yeah.
Let's spread it out a little bit,
It was so funny because even during, COVID, when it was at its zenith, there was these 6 feet rules, but I looked in the lobby and the chairs were still in this positioning. So I always try to stagger myself, but I do one better. I actually was standing next to kind of the door because I do get a sense that people are there because they're ill.
Right.
And I thought, well, at least if I'm near the UV light that's coming through the windows and the door, I have some force field, right?
How about next time be like, tell the receptionist, I'm just going to hang out outside of the door. When it's my turn, you just signal me.
Hey, there's some offices that will do that.
You just signal me and I'll come in.
Yeah, just give me a heads up or a phone call or something.
Yeah.
I'll just go back to my house. Give me a call.
Right.
I'll be safe there. So I'm like waiting. And the other thing I've done is instead of standing next to the window is in some rooms that are so tight and people are so close together, are we supposed to be impressed like it's a restaurant and think, wow, there's so many people that come here. This must be a really good... No, I don't want to. I just want to have room. I want to have... It's like a theater. You don't sit right next to your buddy if you go to the theater. Now, when I go with Beauty, I'll sit right next to her. But I like having that space. It's like going to the urinal or something. You want somebody that understands the spacing and the optics of being... So I just find that sometimes people don't get that. There's a ton of spats in the doctor's office, but this guy sits right next to me.
Well, yeah, my mentality is like, I'm going to be as far as I can from you. So if there's a big doctor's office and there's, say, 10 seats and this one guy's sitting in the corner, I'm sitting in the opposite corner.
Right.
Like, that's just how it's going to go.
You're going to use the maximum amount of space possible, and there's not going to be any weirdness because people get it.
Right.
So after I got past that little thing and my name was called, and this one other thing I noticed is when you go to pay, they tell you about your copay. Now, usually I'm averse to paying anything because I like it going through the insurance first. And this is just a quick PSA from Pierce on Heroes of Humility, aka Hose.
Okay, taking notes.
But is that if you go to a doctor's office and you think the bill's going to be high, let it go through insurance first. Because guess what they all do? They charge you for every kind of medical code that they can put into that billing. And what you find, and what I've learned going through this process, is that first round of billings is usually a lot higher than what you end up having to pay and what your insurance ends up paying.
Right.
So they're throwing so many things in there because they're trying to bill for the maximum amount of everything.
It's like a mechanic. Oh, yeah, this is wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah.
We're going to fix this,
Yeah.
that. Everything's wrong when the one thing's wrong. Just fix the one thing as
Yeah.
opposed to like testing for 30 different things.
Exactly.
So you can, yeah.
I just came in for the oil change, but now I got to get a new transmission. So I don't want to go through all the gaming. So she tells me, but she had such a nice face and she says, copay is just 20. Okay. No. So that's not a big deal. But anyway, just something I noticed. And what I noticed is that sometimes these people at the counter, they are just from the very beginning, like, here's another guy I got to deal with, another human being that I have to take their money.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do, they've got 20 things going on and you're just a speed bump in their day. And it doesn't feel good to be a speed bump. Now, this was not like this. This girl was so sweet and everything. So I was like happy. But when you're the person collecting the money, you should be aware of your disposition. It shouldn't be like $20. Sometimes they'll see your card and be like, nope, don't take Amex. And I've actually had that kind of experience. Whoa, what the heck is you're taking money from me? Can you at least be a little pleasant about it?
Yeah. Like the overarching quality that you need to have as a receptionist is friendly.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's probably the
Yeah.
priority that like if I'm a doctor and I'm going to hire somebody for a reception position, if you come into the job interview and you're like, yeah,
Just real curt.
then you're probably not going to get the job.
No social kind of... is it like that when you take your kids, Red? Have you noticed that if you take your kids to the doctor's office, do these things still seem to permeate the doctor's office? Or do you notice any different kind of disposition or treatment when you're taking your kids?
Yeah, usually a pediatrician office, they're definitely more friendly. Plus, they're usually more colorful and stuff like that. But
that's what I want.
I would imagine, though, Beige can probably attest to this. When your kids get older, do I need to sit on that little pink, blue Papa Smurf plastic chair? I'm 16. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah.
They're trying to keep it so upbeat. You know what? Surprisingly,
Yeah, like what is the age that you transition from a pediatrician to like a physician?
What's the cutoff?
Yeah, and I think some people say age, but then, of course, like me, I was larger than most adults by my teenage years. So do I need to really come here anymore?
Yeah.
This guy's only 10 years old, but did he drive himself here?
Like I'm 20 years old, but he does give me a lollipop afterwards.
You might like that treatment a little bit better.
I want to be treated like that still, and I just noticed that's kind of gone out the window, and I wonder if that's different with kids. But I also noticed that I'm kind of the reverse. Most people don't like going to the dentist. That's the one I like going to the most.
See, and when you want to talk about a used car salesman or like a mechanic, I feel like the dentist is like that. Oh, look at this. You got 4 cavities here, huh? Oh, look at this.
You're gonna need
ching.
Hey, babe,
you're going to need a bridge.
Let's take that vacation
Right,
cruise.
yeah.
Book it now.
Exactly.
We got
and
another
you're like,
one.
And you're like, my teeth aren't even hurting. I was just here for a cleaning. Like, what the hell? Now I have 5 cavities. And of course, you as the layman, you say I have 5 cavities. I guess I have 5 cavities. I'm not the dentist. All I know is that my teeth don't hurt.
They were working before I came in.
They were working before I came in. And if my teeth don't hurt, like I don't want to spend $500 to fix teeth that don't hurt.
You know what's sad, though? I will tell you, I just had that experience myself with the dentist. But now they've kind of changed it because when we were young, they didn't have all the tools, I'm sure. That just like you said, I went in for a cleaning and they're like, yeah, there might be a little something back here. And come on, it's probably like my cereal I had in the morning. I'm good to go. And then they pull out this little wand and take all these pictures and then you see the pictures on your screen. I'm like, oh shit, they're high def. I can see a little black speck on a tooth. I guess I'll be here on Friday.
How do you even know that's your tooth? How do you know that's a picture of your mouth?
Yeah,
dude?
like it's not a
Could be
stock
scam,
photo.
Dude.
Well,
it could be a huge scam, dude, for all you know.
Scam City.
You're very well right, but I figured it's too involved.
You kind of, when somebody's all up in your grill, leaning right over top of you, the only other next move is for them to straddle you. You kind of feel like you've already put your trust in that person. It's already been implied that at this point, you are my, savior.
Well, it's a mutual trust situation because they also have their fingers in your mouth, in your chompers,
and
right? So they got to trust you not to.
Yeah, you could bite off their finger or spit in their face.
Right.
It's dangerous for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, that, and I think, I don't know, maybe the times have changed, but because my wife and I were talking about that, where when we were young, you only went to the dentist if there was a problem. Like, you didn't go for regular stuff because you
back in caveman days.
And now my kid goes once or twice a year
for cleaning, right?
Yeah, for cleaning, and they're just, my wife is like, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're just going for cleaning. So it's sometimes it kind of feels like you're wasting your time there. But
okay, what's up with the dental offices that give out candy? Like, are you just trying to get repeat customers here? What's going on?
It's good business, dude. It's a good business model. Yeah.
Oh, here's some more cavities, kids. Yeah, come on in.
See you
We're
next
gonna load
week.
you up with candy.
Yeah, you'll be back in a couple of weeks. We'll take care of that cavity. So,
yeah.
Well, we got to make sure it gets there first.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the dentist, but when I went into this dermatologist, I got back to the room. I was waiting there, and this lady came in. I thought she was a nurse, so she said, "Doctor will be right back." So that's another thing they do too. So you go back to the other room and you wait a little bit, but then somebody comes in and reassures you. Now that's not the doctor; it's like the doctor's representative. If you've watched Game of Thrones, it's kind of like the hand, it's like the person next to the throne, and they're just telling you.
Yeah, it's like, do you rate to see the doctor or not? Okay, you passed this test.
Right.
Now the doctor will.
Yeah, and you feel like every stage is you're getting closer and closer to a solution that you've read about on the internet only.
To seeing the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's like you can't wait to get a heart. You're just finally, there's somebody that's going to give you some kind of, who knows? They could be telling you that you've always had a heart and you just need this plastic one to wear. And by the way, you should never have wanted one, because if one's ever been made that could never be broken, then that's really what you want. And let's not get too far into that. Was a good movie though, but I learned a lot from Wizard of Oz. But so I'm in there and the lady says, hey, they're going to be coming. He's going to be in as soon as, in just a little while. And this is where they give you a little information, maybe like the person at the gate at the airport. Well, he's got this customer in front of you and he just got started and they kind of been talking a while. So they have an issue. So it'll just be a little while. So when they say it'll just be a little while, those words together are telling you it's going to be a while. It's going to be a little longer than normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of resigned to that. And I didn't like sitting down for some reason in there until I know I have to, because if you turn around, you're looking where you're going to be sitting. It looks like where they do autopsies. It's a piece of tissue that's strung onto this weird chair, right?
It's like a butcher's paper.
Yeah,
like
butcher's paper, wax paper or something.
Feel like a foot long, right?
yeah, I'm going to get rolled up into a sandwich, into a burrito. So I sit on there. I did something. I noticed that there was wrinkles already in the paper, and I'm like,
fresh paper.
Yeah,
that's going on the Yelp review.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. What's to say they didn't already pull? So somebody else who may have had God knows what kind of bumps on their body was sitting on this before me. Do I have to throw out my genes now that so I sit down like a good patient trying to be, and I just sitting on that stuff, you already feel like humbled. Like you hear the paper.
Yeah, every time you move, it's like.
Yeah. What kind of freak am I?
You feel like a specimen.
Yeah, specimen, dude.
Oh, God.
A freak specimen. And they're just coming in to examine you on this wax paper. And I thought, after I had touched something, I thought, I'm going to wash my hands. And I went up and then the water didn't work. And I was like, oh, can only the doctor use that sink? Or what is that? And I'm not allowed to use that special sink that's in this room. And I'm looking around at the things and I just started to become more observant in this last appointment. So the doctor eventually came in and then he says, so what are you here for today? And I was like, gosh, does this guy not read the paperwork? I mean, I've put this down a bunch of times, but I'm happy he's asking me, right? So I'm telling him, I said, well, I got a tiny little bump here. And I said, I'm not familiar with this. I haven't had a lot of these imperfections, if you will, doc. And I kind of looked to the room for like a courtesy laugh because I was trying to kind of be funny. And I said, well, I said, humble brag, I haven't noticed a lot of imperfections on my skin since, 19 whatever when I was born. So could you just take a look and tell me what you think it is?
You're like, is it cancer? Just tell me, is it cancer?
Just be true with me. How long do I have, doc?
Yeah, how long do I have to live?
How long do I have? So the lady had already kind of laughed at a couple of things. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fine. This will be cool. But he didn't laugh, dude. He wasn't laughing.
Stone-faced.
And very stoic, yeah. And so then I pushed my hair back and he's like, that's it looks like a tiny wart or just a tag. He says, we can either take it off with nitrogen.
Nitrogen, they freeze it off.
Yeah, they freeze it off. But he's like, because of your skin pigment, it'd probably be better if we used heat to singe it off, cauterize it, because then it won't leave a mark. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess the cauterize thing. And I said that quick. The next thing I know, he's grabbing this device,
the wand,
that's making this sound like a lightsaber. And he takes it to the bump on the back of my head and does the tiny one. And then he's going, and as he's doing this, I hear this angel in the room. And I felt like at this point she had wings. And she says, are you going to cauterize both of them? And she says it in a high, inquisitive, dramatic voice like that. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And maybe this isn't the right move, And I thought, gosh, we didn't talk about it. I don't know what he didn't really tell me. We didn't talk that much about the bumps. Like if he goes in, is this going to make it worse? Is this better? I mean, what are my options? Should I get a second opinion?
Yeah.
Again, a guy that doesn't go to the dermatologist, and somebody's probably listening to this and be like, what?
But this dermatologist probably sees like hundreds of these. Yeah. So he's just like, burn that crap off.
Right. Yeah. And his disposition just was like, I just want to get through the rest of my day. That was kind of how I felt. A very competent guy from what I could tell. But so he does this, dude, and he's like, it's going to sting a little bit. It felt like the end of Braveheart where they're pretty much, and I was like, freedom! And dude, the burning sensation I felt, it almost made my peen stand up. Like I was like trying not to, and I can't explain it unless you've been in severe pain before. Shit. It was like a Mission Impossible movie where Ethan Hunt is just getting jacked.
And then in the other room, there's like a 6-year-old that probably just had it done. And he's like, that was great.
Well, that's funny in the podcast room, but I'll tell you, dude, it was painful.
And I know what you're talking about because...
Have you ever had that done, Red?
Yeah, just more than 100 times. But
damn.
The first time you experience it, it's like a burn. Like burns are delayed, right?
Right.
Like, if you touch something, you only feel the pain after it's like your skin's been damaged by it, right? So it kind of starts like you hear the...
Yeah, because there's
this isn't so bad, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, there's that transmittal from like the skin to the brain, like that signal goes up the nerves.
Yeah, and it went to some other places, like I mentioned earlier. It went into for some reason I felt aroused? It throughout everywhere. Yeah. Well, I meant I was just
spread them.
Well, my body. He said the peeing earlier. Well, I was like, did you get
my body was reacting.
You might have
this.
Some psychological issues going on.
Yeah, I'm like a sadist or masochist, whatever you. I like this torture.
I like the burn.
I feel the burn. So he said, you might feel a little sting. And I was like, this guy has no command of the English vernacular and the meaning behind words, Mm-hmm. He's a doctor, a learned person, but he doesn't understand his reading.
You minimize this a little too much, bro.
Yeah.
You're going to experience some mild discomfort.
Right. I love that one. Yeah.
So I jab the scapula into your freaking ribs.
I swear to God, too, I think I smelled, and it might have been just because of the sound of the thing going.
No, it's burning your skin, dude.
I thought I smelled it, and I was like, this whole thing, everything about it was torture.
Did it smell like burnt coconut butter?
Yeah, it smelled like coconut oil. I don't know why. I maybe put too much on.
Well, dude, that reminds me, like when I had to get LASIK done a while back. They cut open your eyeball.
Right.
And then
you're awake.
And they shoot a laser in there and it burns it. I smelled it. Like you could smell the burning and you're like, yeah, that's my eyeball that's burning. That's that smell right there. It's just, it's very disconcerting.
When I had my eye surgery, they said, I had the PRK with the laser. They said, do you want to get the version of this that we use an imaging x-ray to determine exactly where the imperfections are? Or do you want to just look at these pieces of glass and tell us when it looks the best?
We'll wing it.
And they said, now it'll cost about $2,000 extra per eye or $1,000 extra to go through the machine. And I said, yeah, let's do the extra 1,000. It doesn't.
Like I got one set of these.
Right. I'm just going to go ahead and try and keep the eyes I have, sir.
Right.
If we can do the best we can with these.
Groupon on discount.
Yeah, no coupons.
If you go to the guy in the alley back there, he's like $400.
Yeah, buy one get one. Come on.
You save some money. I mean, it won't. You might not see as good, but you can think of all the money you're going to save. So I just told the guy, yeah, let's do the extra. So the singeing is happening. I'm thinking of that Rocky, the Rambo movie where he cauterizes his own wound. All these things are happening to me.
Did you squeal out? Or was there a tear?
I thought I was handling it really well.
No. I can only imagine.
I thought I was handling it really well. And so what I said to the nurse and to the doctor, I said, well, I think I'm doing a pretty good job dealing with the pain. But I said, if I ever needed somebody to confess, this would be a good device, right? And again, she laughed. Nothing from the doc, right?
Him.
Nothing from him. So now I'm trying to make him laugh like a improvisationist on stage.
It's like a challenge
a comedian. Yeah, because I'm like, can I just have some human connection with this guy who's mutilating my body? I need to make sure this isn't a Braveheart scenario.
Well, you're like, I'm a human. I feel pain. You need to see me as a person.
Yes,
please.
Exactly, Beige. I wanted him to have some empathy with me. So I said, what I started to realize is that I started going through all the math of all the social things leading up to why he was just singeing me with no inhibition, with reckless abandon. Mm-hmm. And I thought back to the conversation where I was going on about how, my skin was perfect and I had never had this before. And I started to think maybe like Beige, he's getting upset and he just thinks, how dare this guy say that he's perfect? I'm going to show him perfect.
Right. Yeah.
And I started thinking is that why he's being so aggressive? So he says to me, okay, we just have the one that you came in to look at now. That's one's next to your ear. That one is just a tiny bit bigger. So he says, you're going to feel it a little bit more.
And you had already like...
I wish I could have seen this one, dude.
That first one, that was nothing.
Yeah. That was. He said, in fact, I've seen little girls handle that first one you had. And nothing against. I'm not misogynistic. I'm just saying it hurt. Yeah. It hurt. Okay. So then he's like, this one's gonna sting. And I said, well, I think I've been doing pretty good so far, which I think made it worse. He was like, I'm gonna show the
challenge accepted.
Now I looked over and.
Then he smiled.
My gaze caught the nurse at this point because I'm looking for humanity in the room, some kind of sympathy. And her eyes look like the eyes you see on the terrorist in the movie just before. They're the one terrorist that has some humanity to them, right. And they are feeling for the person being tortured.
You're at a point where it's like, she knows something I don't know.
Right.
She knows how bad this will suck for me because she's seen this before, but she doesn't know I know the depth of the suckiness yet,
In some very human way, she and I connected in a way that I don't know humans readily connect in the normal day-to-day lives. She had this, and what I realized is I was all of a sudden glad she was a witness to what might be, I may have to document when I called 911 at the end of this. But he goes in and he starts to zap this thing, and oh man. And I didn't think, well, it's a little bump. I mean, don't I have a less feeling there? And he's like, oh, and he also said, I could give you Novocaine, but the Novocaine shot hurts almost as much as this. So he says, why not? So it's up to you.
Why not just forego it, right?
And I also started to think, well, is he just saying that because he's done with his day and he wants to move this along?
And
should I have gone with the Novocaine?
And after the first one, I would be like, I don't know if I trust your assessment of pain levels.
Yeah, right.
When you tell me that the Novocaine shot hurts almost as much as this, because you were really wrong
your credibility
about the pain level the first go around.
You're so crummy in the world of credibility right now.
From somebody who's frequented the dermatologist, definitely it depends on the size.
Okay.
If you have a tiny little tag, you can just bear the cauterizer real quickly because that little Satan's bell of is not a big deal. But when you have a mole that's larger,
what do?
You do the Novocaine. You get it numbed up because you got to think about it like this. And this is the way I've gone into it. If you have a small little mark, it's easy, quick. They can take care of it. But if it's something larger, you don't want to be uncomfortable, and they know you're uncomfortable. And now he can't get it all.
Ooh.
So you want to get it done properly the first time. Okay. Granted, Novocaine, if you've ever gotten numbed for whatever, definitely burns when they
like the dentist, right? They use Novocaine.
Well, and it was in my neck.
Yes, but I think the problem with when you go to the dermatologist, it's superficial. It's not like a vaccination where it goes into your big muscle and you're good. It's on the very surface level, so it does burn. But I'll tell you what, it burns for not even a minute as it's going in, and right away it starts becoming numb and you don't feel it. So anything ever large that you're getting taken off, whether it's the size of an eraser head or something like that, a tag, because you haven't seen it, just get it numb, because that way they can really get it.
Well, this show is full of PSAs.
Yeah,
today,
it's got some good info for people.
I've been quite a bit, and it's funny. You kind of see these shows that, what are they called, botched and stuff like that, where people start craving
Dr. Pimple Popper.
They start craving going to getting cosmetic surgery. And not that I've had any, but I can tell you now, when I go to the dermatologist, there are things I look for that are like, yeah, hey doc, you see that little freckle right there? Check it out. If it's not, let's get it cauterized off. The older you get, sometimes you can tell your skin's maturing, you get more freckles or whatever. And whenever you go, you almost start like, I'm looking for things to tell him to burn off.
Wow, interesting.
You start almost like that buzzing, the pain. You're kind of like, okay, that one's small enough. I don't need that one numb. But if I have something, like I said, like everybody gets them around their collar, by their shirt, stuff like that. You can get them zapped off.
Okay, I'm going to say something here. Okay. I wasn't really nervous about my dermatology.
Sorry, dude.
Before, and now funny. I kind of am. Well, so, no, yeah, dude, thanks for that, guys.
You shouldn't be, dude, because I go like every 6 months to get a skin check where we live. And when we were kids, they had like baby oil was our sunscreen.
Yeah.
So all of us have been burned.
We had Crisco. They just put Crisco on us.
Yeah,
nitrogen for you will be the way to go, I think, and I don't think it hurts as much.
And no, it can, depending on where it's at.
I don't think I've had both.
If you have nitrogen on a fingertip, that hurts like hell.
Oh gosh, that would be it.
If you got a mole on top of your head, not a big deal. You won't even barely feel it.
Yeah.
But
what if you have a mole on Beige's peen?
Whoa.
Well, now that you're gonna.
I don't know if we're gonna skin check that one, dude. We'll see.
I've gone for skin checks. They did find one time they were like, and it was funny because we usually think of like the tops of our shoulders, tops of our heads, type of stuff like that. Where that one's kind of is it dark brown or black? I can't really see. And then you have them check it, and they're like, no, that one's good. Dang. And then they pointed one out on my upper stomach, and he goes, that one's in question.
He's like, that one's actually a third nipple.
And Can we get a second opinion in here?
And so that ended up being a cancerous cell that was growing. Funny, like I've had a dark mole on my leg, for the listeners I could see, that I've had for a long time, and I always like kept an eye on that one because those are the dark spots you want to look for. And he found that spot on my stomach I had no idea about. And then he tested it and said, yeah, that has cancerous cells. So they take a sample of it, but it's the same cauterizer that you guys are talking about. So they just essentially burn the first layer of skin. And then they test it, and then they burn more if they need to. So
there was one moment in the end of the story, or the end of the visit, I'll skip ahead just a little bit, but I'll go back, is that I said, I haven't been in a long time. Should I get the full exam? Which I didn't want to come right out and say, hey, you guys want me to drop my trowel?
The full service. You're getting the full.
And I kind of wanted to see what you look like before
It's been like 60,000 miles since my last lube job.
I want to see if your hands are cold or not before I go in for that.
So the way they dismissed it and said, no, you're fine so quickly, I was like kind of insulted. Like I was like, oh, excuse me, nobody wants me to drop my trowel.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see this, huh?
You
could have just did it anyways, right?
You could have just said it nicely. But you didn't have to be so quick about it. No, we don't need. No, please, you're done.
Please keep those on, sir.
Did you have to drop yours shorts when you went and did that last huge body thing? Did they look at you like that?
Dude. I mean, I guess it depends.
I mean, he didn't have to, but he did.
I know the way Red offered so quickly.
I don't.
Were there candles and incense burning in the room?
He's like, I didn't have to, but I just decided to.
Mine that I go to, they know me very well. That my wife goes, my kid goes. We're frequent flyer miles over there, so it's usually like down to your skivvies if you want, or if you guys have like shorts like that, and you take your top off, and then they just walk around you with that big old light on. Sometimes they'll wear like glasses or something to kind of like magnify it. It seriously takes like not even a couple minutes.
It's amazing how good they are at identifying things so quickly, and you see the confidence in their face, and it does make you feel better.
Well, yeah, that, and like you said, there's parts on our bodies like our backs that we can't see,
right?
And if you don't have somebody looking you over, it's crazy to think, like I said, where we live. My wife used to do hair, and she has told clients, hey,
interesting.
There's something that looks like a mole, but it's kind of crusty on top of your head. Because I guess in school, they do tell them that sometimes you're going to meet people that they don't have somebody that can see that on like the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
And she's cutting their hair, and
So
sure
she
enough,
might spot like
she's identified some lady's hair or scalp that had something that needed to be taken off because it was cancerous. And not that like she's patting herself on the back, but it's just there's certain parts of your body you can't see.
Well, and that's the same thing with dentists, where they can spot like certain oral cancers too in your mouth when they're in there. My wife has a dental hygienist. That's part of what they're trained on too, is to spot lesions or something that could potentially be cancerous.
It's amazing the information that people are getting in this episode.
Right.
There was something else that I want to hear Red's thoughts on, is if I heard that if you have something and it's not like perfectly round or very symmetrical, then that's also kind of an indication that you definitely want to get that looked at. It's the more circular it is or more perfect in shape, or if that's less concerning, but you should still get it looked at.
And then there's always things that like I'll say we kind of cut from the same cloth, that if there's something on your, let's just say your chest, that you're like, is that a mole? Is it, I think they call them like keratin growths or something like that, and you don't like the way it looks and you're kind of questioning it, you can usually ask the doctor and then just kind of like, hey, it feels like a dry piece of skin like right there, so I'm constantly scratching it. Just get it taken off. The skin's a great little thing where it heals so well, and you will almost regret that you didn't do it earlier because it's going to get larger. So any little tag that I see like around, everybody gets them around their armpits and stuff like that from wearing t-shirts rubbing you. Don't wait, because then it turns into something that like it's going to take forever and you're going to get Novocaine. You see it when it's small. Dude, it takes a quick little zap and you're going to go, why did I sit here and debate like, oh, it's going to hurt so bad?
Well, the only reason, too, that I was telling the doctor I'd never had anything, I didn't mean to be bragging, but I was also a little bit ashamed of it, for some reason. And I wanted him to know my history. But then I realized, because I was trying to figure out why is this guy being so evil and my precious skin, that I was thinking, well, did I say something that created this hostility in his heart for my neck area?
But can you only imagine? He probably sees people with all over body psoriasis, and you come in with a tag, and he's kind of like, okay, let's get this freaking guy out of here so I can go to lunch.
Probably was. And yeah, that's true. And I said, how am I doing, doc? Because it was taking a while. And again, this was actually, you'd probably laugh if I actually told you how small it was, but he's like, well, I'm fighting you just a little bit. When he said that, because I thought I was in there like, like I said, Ethan Hunt,
being a champ,
enduring this torture. I looked at the girl for some third perspective.
He basically called you a bitch.
Like, I started to feel, so I felt a little punked out in the room, dude.
Bitch said
I did. I mean, I honestly agree.
Gonna have to add the explicit to this episode. Sorry.
Exclamation point.
It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good to be for him to say that in the room with another person. So I looked to her because again,
she just nodded. She's like,
yeah.
Well, that's what I was. I wanted to see. Yeah, you guys are jerks,
dude. I will tell you. Speaking, I know we've been talking about dermatologists this whole time, but us being our age now, I dread going for like physicals because you're at that age where they got to start getting a little bit more invasive. And that's like, oh God. There's no way to have that done and not feel violated. You should be on an episode of Law and Order SVU or something afterward.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something because we're all roughly about the same age. This strikes a chord with a good old Pierce because I know what he's feeling is I turned the magical 45 today, and your insurance emails you, at least depending on what insurance you have, it emails you a little thing when you hit a certain age. I'm not superhuman anymore, I guess. I'm not perfect. And when you get the Cologuard email and you start reading that you have to poop in a box.
Humiliating.
And at first you're kind of like, wait, I got a what? And then that's not that. I guess that's better than getting a full-blown colonoscopy, right? But then you go, how does this all work?
Wait till you do it.
And you're kind of like, okay, how big is this opening? And I don't know if I've ever tried to be very specific in my aim.
Be very precise.
Dude, the one I saw, you take a little piece of plastic and you put the tissue in the toilet, you do your business, and then you're supposed to take this little wand and put it into the business and then put it back into this tube. And I've done a couple of those.
Yeah.
You want to talk about true humility.
Oh, yeah.
Not the kind we joke about here on the
Right.
show, but true humility. When you're doing that to your own poo
Right.
and you're looking at your poo and you're like, I've never.
You're
looked
like,
at
I'm
my
a
poo
monkey.
this close.
I'm
Yeah.
basically a
Yeah.
monkey right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
right
gonna
now,
fling it here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've gone all the way back in evolution to your basis where you come from, and you're just playing with your poop now.
See, I wasn't even going there. I was going with the old prostate exam, like
Well-
that alone, and then afterwards they're like, all right, clean yourself up.
Yeah, you just throw a tissue
Dirty
at you. Yeah, they just and then they
Yeah,
glove.
put your pants on, clean up.
Who's more
geez.
ashamed, the guy that gets something put in his butthole or the person putting it in? You know. But when I had
Well, do they talk to each other afterwards? Be like, man, I got this guy today, and
Yeah,
he was,
You should have
like,
seen the
you're
amount
always-
of poop on my finger.
You're always worried that there's like private doctor conversations that
Oh,
occur.
you
like,
know there's got
yeah,
You're like,
you
should
know
I have
there's gotta
felt?
be.
Should I have felt that much lubrication? Was that for me or your finger? I don't know how much lubrication is okay.
You're like, oh god, I hope this guy doesn't talk. about
Dude, I
me.
had a humiliating one. So when I was recommended to go to this doctor, and it was a female doctor. Now, for some reason, I know it should be more comfortable to have a woman do it, but I hadn't
don't
had
know,
it done
dude.
before. So my beauty suggested you should probably go ahead and make sure you get that done since you haven't had a physical in a long time and you're getting
Older and-
Yeah. So I said, all right. So when I went in there, I had this in my mind, right? And I talked to the physician's assistant first, and then she came in and I said, well, I'm just getting my physical, but she checked me all out. She says, you're good. And I said, and I waited to bring this up. And I finally said, my beauty. And I also felt good making sure that it wasn't my instinct or my
Like you weren't pushing for
spontaneous.
it.
Yeah. Because I
Like-
was like, what does this guy want a
Right.
woman to put his finger up?
Jeez,
So I
this
just,
guy's a fucking
yeah.
pervert.
He came just to have this done
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
So I said, my beauty, I said, she's the one that recommended it.
And in her mind, she's probably like, sure, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
her.
So I said, she thought and she's like, right away, it was like at the dermatologist, no, you don't have to drop trout. She's like, no, you're good. And
Yeah.
I was like, and I felt kind of insulted. I'm like, oh, this woman doesn't
she
want to
go-
put her finger in
Right.
my butthole?
Right.
How dare her?
Did she go like, ew, no?
Yeah, I was like, she looked at me and it was her response was so quick, and I'm like, but I am getting up there, and I finally,
Yeah.
and now pretty soon,
And
but
then
I-
you're like, isn't my butt nice and taut here?
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, don't I have
Yeah.
a nice rump?
yeah, I mean, I do
Don't you
a
wanna
lot of
do
glutes. What's the problem? And all of a sudden, she was like, well, I brought it up again, and I said, well, since I'm here, I don't go that often.
Wait, so she said no and you kept insisting?
I don't know what happened to me, dude. I don't know what
Wow.
happened to me. Yeah, I kind of felt like at some point it was like a bad date.
I'm getting cheated.
Yeah.
Wait,
I felt like it was
Right,
a
yeah.
date that had gone bad,
Yeah.
and I was begging for a kiss or something. And so I kept saying,
Like you filled it up with oil, but you didn't even check the dipstick
Yeah.
here. You
Hey,
didn't
come
even
on.
put the dipstick
You
in and
gotta
check the
check the
level.
dipstick.
yeah, I don't think
Not
we
here.
finished this whole process. So I just said, well, I just want to make sure I don't want to have to come back. And I said, believe me, I don't even like asking for this. It's my beauty that wants me to. I brought up the fact that I had already had a
Yeah.
partner. So then she's like, you're getting close, but she says with your health, it's fine. Don't worry. And she was so dismissive of it that I felt that much more insulted. And it became like, I'm begging this woman to put her finger at my butthole, dude. And I thought, what kind of a world has Pierce lost so much of his...
So
I
you
just
went to
felt
the gym and
so-
did glutes pretty much for 2 hours after.
I went
that,
home
right?
and I said, Beauty, I insist that you put your finger at my butthole because I need to feel like a man again.
You knew you were going to get questioned when you're home. You didn't get it checked out.
And believe me, I'm the last guy that wants to be pegged in any
Yeah.
kind of social, sexual, whatever thing. But it doesn't seem like it'd be very fun. But for some reason, I was like, "Come on, Doc, this needs to be
right.
pegged.
This is
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah, you
Let's go.
have to peg me. Your whole practice depends. Wait till I get on Yelp and I tell everybody that you wouldn't put your finger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was super awkward, dude. And I honestly never went back to that office because I just felt like
Got
it was
cheated.
so
Yeah.
goofy.
It was
man.
like a bad first date.
Yeah,
kinda.
like the
Yeah.
worst first date ever. Like for some reason the date was logical. We were supposed to do this, but it just felt like I wanted it more than her,
Dude, I got
I
one.
wanted it more than her, dude.
Wouldn't have been the
Yeah.
first time,
Yeah.
right?
How dare you? How dare you?
She's like, I just don't. There's just not a connection here.
Yeah.
I just don't.
We should go to dinner first or
It's
something.
not me. It's you.
Yeah. Can we be friends? Can we just be friends?
So I have a funny medical office story. So when I was a kid, I used to always get strep throat. I got strep throat probably like 6 times as a kid growing up.
Oh, wow.
And they never took my tonsils out, which is weird, but I would always get strep throat. That's one thing I always had. And I remember I went to the doctor's office one time. I was 12 years old, I think. And I go there and they look at my throat and they're like, yeah, I think, I see like white pus on your tonsils. I think you might have strep throat, but we're going to go ahead and swab it and make sure. And they're like, so go down to the lab. It's in the same building. They're like, go down to the lab and they'll swab your throat. And they got to stick like this long Q-tip back there to swab it. I remember I went down there. I'm 12 years old. And there's a boy in there too who's getting the same thing done. But he's like 6, right? Mm-hmm. And his mom's there with him and he's freaking out. And she's trying to calm him down and be like, look, he's getting the same thing. It's fine,
big boy over here.
This big boy's getting it done. They do it to me and I'm like, and I'm like gagging. And the kid's watching me do this, starts freaking out. And he's like, oh my God.
That's
I totally freaked this kid out with the way I reacted to that.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's kind of what I did today for you with the upcoming dermatologist appointment. Dude, I'm telling you, I heard that thing and they buzzed it off, but I will say I got home. Now, the nurse, she came over and she said, should we put she had a bandage and she had so much more of like a human response to everything that she saw I was going through. So she put this bandage on me.
Yeah, she wasn't a cyborg like the doctor was.
Yeah, he just he was a machine. So I thanked the doc and I said, thanks for what you guys do here because to me this is probably a bigger deal than it really was.
Thank you for your service.
I did. I said, thank you for your service. And I was like, why? I couldn't help it. It's almost, what do they call that syndrome where you've been victimized by the person that kept you hostage?
Stockholm.
Yeah, it was like I was a Stockholm victim. I was like, thank you so much, sir. I know you just totally
you developed that bond
me,
with your torturer.
Yeah. So, and it was weird because what probably took all of 10 minutes seemed to me like a day,
Right.
But she put the bandage on and she's like, it'll be all right. It's fine. And I walked out and I said, thanks. And I didn't take the bandage off for like 24 because I was Googling how long should you leave a bandage on a cauterized wound. It was ridiculous, dude.
Oh my God. You should have called me, dude.
I should have, but I didn't. I should have called my fairest of friends just to make sure. And, what's fairest
skin. Who's the whitest guy? No.
Who's the whitest of all the land in all the land? Yeah, I just got out of there, and it was kind of an existential experience for me when I took it off. And this is the good part for you, Beige, okay? Because you got some come up. My neck actually, it's like amazing. It's not like nothing ever was there.
It's like a pristine neck. It's
like beautiful,
right?
It makes you emotional,
right? It's like it should be modeled as like this is the model of the neck that you want, basically. Here,
this right is girth, perfection, the right symmetry. You know that scene, that Seinfeld where George finds out he's a hand model and he tries to protect his hands because they're so beautiful.
Right.
I now feel like my neck.
That's why you're wearing a turtleneck today.
Well, I'm not wearing a turtleneck, listener. But I just feel like my neck it's like even more beautiful.
It's your moneymaker
and
now.
I just think, gosh, if people want to see something that maybe they could aspire to, I should. I don't know. It wouldn't be bad to show, but it also might give you people, encouragement when they know they have to go to dermatologist. Well, here's the before and after. Look at this hideous, grotesque.
Yeah,
lump.
Look at this beast.
Yeah, and now look at him. He's his neck should be prized by all humanity for its pristine, because it looks like nothing ever happened. And I don't know, Red's facial expression says a lot, but I know I got to stop talking about this. But it was interesting, man. I had too many thoughts about it and weird things that are occurring to me as I was being singed. It just seemed a lot more dramatic for me. But
no, I think I remember my first one. It was kind of a sad story. I shouldn't say sad story. At least for me, it was a humiliating story. Is actually the better thing. I remember being a teenager in high school. We were probably like 15 years old, and I have a younger sister than me. She had her friends over. We were at this hotel, swimming in the pool type of thing. We were wrestling around, and I had a mole on my back. And it was one that apparently my t-shirt rubbed and it got to a certain size, and you're young and you're what do you call it? You're all into your hormones and stuff, the way you look. Well, this mole got snagged and it ripped.
Ooh, bleeding all over.
And it didn't rip off, but if you've ever had that happen, it bleeds like crazy.
Right.
So here we are, a bunch of young kids, and so what does one of the girls do? Go,
oh, you were wrestling with a girl, you said.
We were the guys and girls. We were just wrestling around.
Holy.
And it turned
what
into
age, what grade?
I think I was probably maybe like 15 years old.
Okay, so that's a formative time where you're trying to establish your street cred in junior high, I guess.
No, that's high school. That's high school.
That is high school.
15,
Okay.
I think either freshman or sophomore or something like
all
that.
right.
Anyways, so they put a couple like pieces of tissue. I mean, you're in a hotel room, so you don't have a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get some tissue, and man, the blood soaks through the tissue, and it's like not stopping. And so I was like, oh crap, we don't have to call our parents, right?
911.
And so one of the girls gets out a magical maxi pad, right? And I'm like, no, you can't put that on my back. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do. And it's just like, hey, this thing will. They're like, they're looking at us, the boys, confidently, like, if anything's gonna stop the bleeding, it's gonna be this thing. Like, this is what it's designed to do.
It's thoughtful.
So she stuck it on my back,
MacGyvered you.
and of course, now I got to call one of my parents to come pick me up. And we end up having to go to the emergency room because it's a weekend, right? There's no doctor's office. So here I am in the emergency room. I wanted to be back with my friends, hanging out.
Instead, you're going with the maxi pad on your back to the
Now
emergency
you
room.
come back. I mean, it's really traumatic. It's your first time. You're 15. You're going to the emergency room. You're like, okay, what's going to happen? And they tell you, they cauterize it, right?
Okay.
Well, you're smelling your flesh burn because it smokes. It's pretty heavy when they're smoking
You've
it
been
off.
through this quite a few times.
Yeah, and it helps because especially again, I'm not a physician at all, but there's vessels in those moles. So when you cut them, it bleeds, and it takes a while to stop, right? So when they cauterize it, it cuts off the blood supply.
Right.
So then it's gone. Then you don't have to worry about it. But now you come back to the party, and then we're all joking about how, yeah, and they burnt it off, and I smell like my flesh burning in my nose, and everybody's laughing because I had a maxi pad on my back, and I'm like thinking, oh my God, going to school on...
You breathed in little tiny pieces of red under your nose, too.
Right. Now you get a nickname, and it's like, here we go.
Maxi back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that or you're going to know as the mole kid or something like that. And I will say, friends were cool about it, but you was just like...
Yeah, that sounds like good friends.
Humiliating that, like, oh my God, I had to go through at 15. You're so worried about every little thing.
That's one of those things too. It's just such a kind of a difficult time, I guess it could be in your life, because it's an impressionable, kind of an important period of time. There was one other thing I thought of when we were talking about doctor stuff. I don't know why it matters whether your doctor is female or male, but sometimes that has entered the equation. And just remember in that situation, it was kind of a big deal. And I hate when you get your doctors, now when you get your doctor's appointments, they make you fill out all this information, even though you've been there before. And then you get the confirmation, and the confirmation has like 2 or 3 exclamation points. And they actually sent me one and I had already confirmed. And I'm like, what's with all the drama? Like they're yelling at me, your appointment is coming up. And I'm like, I know, but it just seemed way too angry. And so that whole process was I was like, why do we have to get so shot out of a cannon just to get there? I haven't even gotten there. And you're already making things so dramatic. And I just want to make it very calm, cool. I don't know. There's just some interesting things about trying to make it through that process when you've already done a lot of research and you're worried a little bit. Anyway, I've got a colonoscopy coming up, and I'm like,
Well, I would say anything that involves your private areas, I prefer to have a guy than a woman. Just because they kind of, I feel like they're less judgmental.
wow.
No, but I can
what about women that go to a gynecologist? I think most women probably would prefer to go to a female gynecologist.
I would think so.
I would think.
I think so.
So it's kind of the same thing with dudes and like prostate exams.
Well,
like
now,
I don't.
It might
necessarily...
be worse though. Like let's say for instance, because I'm trying to think back of the time where at once I did have an attractive
female
dermatologist, and then you're going in to like get a skin exam. You're like, should I do push-ups before I go in and do this? Or like now I'm telling her about like a little tag I have in my arm.
And you're trying to flex
your
bicep. Why do you think that is, Beige, that you feel that you're being judged?
I just think because this maybe attractive female is kind of seeing like the worst of you right now.
Yeah, and she's never seen anything so small. And she's
wow.
JK.
Wow.
I'm sorry, buddy.
See, he was just setting that up. He was just setting it up. He put it on a tee for himself. And
Beige is so fit right now, too. He's
wow.
But no, I wonder, I kind of know what you mean, and you do wonder why is it that, because I can't explain why, but I can appreciate that as a truth. For some reason, there are certain
like
types
there's just a sexual aspect. Like I don't care what people say. I'm sorry, but like a dude gynecologist with female, like yes, it's not sexual, it's medical, whatever, but it's still like a dude around your private parts, right? And that's kind of the same thing with a guy and a female doctor. Like she's still grabbing your junk. Like still an issue there, you know?
Right.
I don't know. There's still an awkwardness.
I remember one of the guys at work, he was one of the newer guys at work, and I remember him telling me he was coming up on 50, I think 55 or something like that. So he was going for his second colonoscopy. Where we're like, so us young guys were all poking fun. I'm like, oh, you're going to get the finger, whatever. We're giving him hell. And, oh, what does your doctor look like? You know, he's like, oh, it's an attractive female. And we're like, you're going to have an attractive female do that in your butt? So it made it worse. He said something, and this is like experience talking, and you're, well, let me ask you this. You know, again, I'm a bigger guy. And he's like, hold up your hand. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, do you think I want somebody with your meat hooks poking around in there, or some small female with dainty fingers going in there? Yeah. And I was like, oh.
So the ideal situation is a petite man as a doctor.
I had a very similar conversation with coworkers, and I said, do you think I want some girl's finger going up my butthole? And he said, well, do you think you want some guy's finger going up your butthole? And either way, it's like
it's still a finger, right? Going up there.
Finger is a finger is a finger, but if the finger is tinier, that's a much better
You don't feel so violent.
Just don't lose your ring up there, please, you know?
Yeah, you don't feel as bad in the morning when it's a small finger. When it's a big finger, there's, I don't know, some kind of sense of horribleness in the morning.
Dude. And then I'll tell you, like, I've heard from most of your buddies that have older, one of our buddies that we know very well had one done, I think, a year ago. And he goes, you know, because it's like his first experience. So he's kind of letting you know he's older. And you're like, well, dude, how was it? Like, how was it? Because, you know, in a few years, I'm going to probably have to do one myself. And he goes, the prep is the worst. You drink that chalky mixture, and he's like, oh, you know what? You're off for that day at work. So you're thinking, oh, I can go to the store. I can go run this errand, go run by Home Depot. He's like, no, you're not even leaving your bathroom, bro.
Really?
He goes, that mixture they give you is to empty your intestines.
Oh, for the colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Oh,
correct. Okay. To clean it completely out.
Right.
And it's basically taking a pressure washer to your insides.
And he goes, dude, once you start drinking that stuff, and you got to drink all of it, because it's like you don't not want to like do this halfway.
Yeah, you don't
to have to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So he's like, dude, it's bad. Like,
you can't not be near a bathroom.
Yeah, he's like, don't trust no little squeak or little fluff of air. It's coming out. And he goes, in all honesty, that's the worst part though. The probing and everything after you're under sedation, so you're not, and then the next, like, you're ready to go that afternoon to go have a meal, and you're starving by the time you get out of there. He's like, but one of the worst things is you're laying in this after surgery room or whatever, after procedure room, and because they fill you with air. No. And so you have these uncontrollable farts. And the doctor tells you can't leave until you fart, because that air needs to come out. Really? They air it up so that way they can get through and see it, right?
And there's hot chick medical assistants hanging around.
And it's just like women, men, patients are just going to town, like it's like you can't hold it back. It's like ta 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 ta.
Can you imagine working there and dealing with that every day?
You know what? I don't like the idea of coming out of or being in anesthesia where they can't let your family come back or see anything until you're out. And you're just in a state of complete and utter, you're susceptible, you're vulnerable because you have no control. And so you're hoping everybody back there is a very virtuous human being. Because I don't like the idea of thinking, you know how I don't like leaving my toothbrush out in the hotel bathroom when I leave?
Oh, yeah.
What if somebody does something goofy to my toothbrush? Now, magnify that times 10 when you're in a state of sedation in the back of a room somewhere. You know, is there a good system of checks and balances? Is everybody watching each other?
So the follow-up question to that is, what do you do with your toothbrush when you're staying in a hotel?
Right? You want to know?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
You take it with you everywhere you go?
Once you get inside my head, dude, there's no turning back. This is what I do. What I've done before is I like to only do this after I've kind of rinsed my toothbrush off with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, which I'll travel with. And then I'll put that. I look at everybody's on the edge of their seat right now wondering what the heck I do with this toothbrush. I will usually put that in an area that I have a case, but it's got a lock on it, and I secure my items.
You lock it up.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is also the guy that tends not to just walk around some hotel barefoot. I'm just that guy. And I don't use the blanket on top of it.
Honestly, that's best, dude. Yeah. Like, I do, but I know that I'm probably walking on some nasty shit right now.
Who knows what's been in there? You know?
Well, it's a hotel room. What do people do in hotel rooms half the time?
I don't know, Beige.
Well, let's use our imagination, shall we?
Well, that's the thing is I just try to be, I don't know.
Well,
I've locked things in my...
Were you ever thinking about, because I never realized this too, when you're under anesthesia, if you've never been, we've all probably seen a couple of these funny videos where like teenagers are getting their wisdom teeth pulled out and then they're saying funny stuff and they're just reacting because like you never know how you're going to react and respond when you're coming out of it, right? So were you fearing what may happen or what your comments may be? I'm sure that's
a really good question. I just don't, because I don't have those things even when I do have my wherewithal. Like I'm not inhibited. I know I'm very extroverted, and I was told that I said some pretty ridiculous things about thinking that I was the most handsomest boy that they had ever worked on, and stupid stuff that I said coming
Isn't
out.
that what you say, like stone cold sober too?
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's like
it
wasn't
not much different, right?
Well, the thing
right.
is that I'm going to cut that out. But I mean, clap so that I know which part to cut out.
Right.
But yeah, it's just that I think I was wearing like some Star Wars pants. So I was telling everybody, look at my Star Wars pants. So I was told I said some pretty ridiculous things, but everybody was laughing when I came out of this. I do kind of remember a little bit of that, but the idea that you're completely vulnerable to people that could do anything, they could mess with you, you know? I don't even leave my toothbrush out. I'm going to leave my body for somebody to just, who knows?
Yeah.
Just go buck wild on, I don't know.
Sometimes you just got to be okay with
being vulnerable.
giving up control. Yeah.
That's hard in my motto, is my mission statement is just not to give up control. I like to maintain it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to do that when you're under anesthesia.
It is. And I guess with that being said, maybe we can give up control of this episode unless there's any
Ooh.
more. What a nice
look
segue.
At this transition.
Yeah,
Here.
this
This
guy.
guy.
He might
He's
be
a pro.
professional.
Yeah. It's a gift. It only took 48 episodes to try to come up with a transition. Really appreciate you guys again coming out. It's always a blast. Thanks for being here. And this is Pierce signing off with
Beige.
Red.
Take care. Be cool. Be kind. Heroes of Humility will be back in 2 weeks. Oh, and you may have heard us mention that we have a YouTube channel. It's in its infancy, so if you'd like to witness this fascinating evolution of Heroes of Humility, you can also subscribe on there, see what's unfolding. And on YouTube, you can also listen to our episodes. If you want, it would be courtesy. It would be the right thing to do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. We have a website, and follow us. Give us a rating if you want. Thanks for your support. Take care.